True partner, pivotal leader, challenger, teacher, visionary. These are just a few of the ways Tom Hauser has been described by those who worked alongside him in Nebraska's agricultural cooperative system over his 41-year career. Tom began his journey in 1980 as an assistant loan officer with the Omaha Bank for Cooperatives and retired in 2021 as lead relationship manager at CoBank. Throughout his career, he served cooperative accounts across multiple states, most notably in Nebraska.
How I got the job at CoBank is I basically was, at the time I was getting ready to graduate from college, I had not given a thought to what I was going to do. I had a son that was a few months old, I was working part-time, and I was taking a full class load. And my dad said, "What are you going to do when you graduate?" This would have been in early 1980. And I know how that sounds in this day and age, but I had no idea. I hadn't given it a thought. He suggested, my dad did, "Why don't you apply to the Omaha Bank for Cooperatives?" And literally, I go, "What's that?" It was the bank that financed the co-op that Dad had worked for at that time for 15 or 20 years, and he ultimately retired from. But this all came about my entire career by Dad suggesting that I apply with the Omaha Bank for Cooperatives, the Farm Credit System in general, and OBC, for whatever reason, actually hired this kid out of college.
It is likely that nearly every cooperative in the state today, or one of its legacy organizations, had Tom as its CoBank relationship manager at some point. He was also instrumental in launching CoBank's ethanol plant financing program, positioning the bank as a key lender in that industry today. Yet Tom's induction into the Nebraska Cooperative Council Hall of Fame is not simply due to his role as a lender. It is the breadth of his vision, the depth of his financial and strategic insight, and his profound understanding of cooperatives and their farmer owners that distinguish his legacy.
The pivotal role that Tom played, certainly I think in the cooperative system and in the co-ops that I worked with him in, were that he brought business acumen much earlier to the co-op system than we had it. I mean, he was a data-driven guy. He kept his own benchmarking, and he used that then to frankly help teach managers how to run the co-op as a business rather than run it kind of from the seat of our pants like most of us did when we first started. So he was really key, I think, in bringing business acumen into the cooperative system.
So I started working with Tom in 1993, and as a young person getting involved in the cooperative system, him and I connected a lot of times on very early morning phone calls. And in those phone calls, we would talk about Ag Valley Co-op and more broadly the cooperative model and what it meant to agriculture in Nebraska. I came to learn a lot from those phone calls, and that it taught me a lot about the financial foundation of the cooperative model, but it also helped me become a better cooperative leader in the state of Nebraska. And those calls have had a long-lasting impact on my career.
Tom would come to a session with us, and he always was a very good listener. He didn't telegraph any of his initial thoughts. He would listen to what the issue was at hand. He would then start asking a lot of questions about the issue so he understood it thoroughly. And then the part that I really enjoyed about Tom was he'd start challenging some of the assumptions maybe that we had built around an issue. And that was always very valuable. Tom sometimes was a devil's advocate, but we needed that role at times within our boardrooms and our management rooms. He'd challenge that conventional wisdom. But at the end of the day, Tom would always make sure that it was our decision. It was the co-op's decision. It was the board of directors' decision. And he could step back knowing that role he played of providing the input and being that good listener and challenging the assumptions was something that was a solid exercise for us to go through on issues.
Beyond his banking role, Tom shaped how cooperatives function and how their leaders are prepared to meet challenges. His 2 decades on the Nebraska Cooperative Council's Excellence in Cooperative Education Committee reflect a sustained commitment to developing and delivering premier director education programs, including most notably participating as a facilitator for 17 years of the Director Certification Program, 13 years of the Director Manager Workshop, and 4 years of the Graduate Director Seminar, educating a generation of agricultural cooperative leaders.
So Tom, I feel, was a real advocate for the cooperative system. I think back to all of the meetings that I went to, whether it be a co-op council training session, a board training session, which I didn't attend, but I know Tom attended all those. He was very heavily involved in the board certification program for years. And I think that Tom was always available, is something I always thought about. He was available to be involved in any training sessions that were there for both board members and management employees.
You know, Tom was known for being a great truth teller. And, you know, you didn't always want to hear the truth. You didn't always want to hear maybe when things weren't going so well, or you know, maybe you didn't have enough working capital, or whatever it may be. But he was always looking forward, saying, okay, you know, what are you going to do in the next few years? What's your capital structure look like to do that? You know, how's that going to fit? So I think that he was really, once again, really visionary. Back in the 90s, back in the early 90s, you know, we were doing things at Battle Creek with him that were all data-based. I mean, we're talking about 30 years ago, and nobody was doing that then, but Tom was.
His Hall of Fame nomination summarizes it best. He supported growth, resilience, and governance of cooperatives across Nebraska. His legacy is one of strengthened organizations, better informed leaders, and an unwavering belief in the cooperative way.
There's no doubt that Tom had a long-lasting impact on my career and the Nebraska cooperative systems. His guidance and his leadership really embody what this Nebraska Co-op Council Hall of Fame award is all about, and the selfless service that he gave to the cooperative system throughout his career certainly has had a huge impact.
For me to be inducted into the Nebraska Hall of Fame, to be sitting here and having this interview right now, is incredibly humbling. I had the opportunity over my career to directly work with or have experience with approximately half of the 75 members of the Hall of Fame, people that I respected and admired. I grew up with. They helped me grow up. Not only a couple of individuals with the bank, but also just as far as the managers and CEOs, et cetera. So again, for me to be getting inducted into the Hall of Fame is extremely humbling.
Congratulations, Tom Hauser, on your induction into the Nebraska Cooperative Council Hall of Fame.